Hello again. I welcome you to another session. In the series, we've been going through talking about design from the background, the early stage of design, all you need to know about the main software we're focusing on, talking about Adobe Photoshop, to getting your footing in the design space, um, and then understanding some important tools. So, in today's session, I will be talking about design trends. In one of the previous sessions, I've talked about design principles, and I said they are the guidelines, they are like some unwritten rules that designers stick to universally. Um, None of these rules exactly are fixed rules that designers must abide by, but based on based on what goes on in the industry, and based on how these rules help to achieve functionality also, there is really no designer who has a reason to say they want to go against these rules. And um, of course, creativity comes in. You can decide to be whatever you want to be, because it's still your project, it's still your um, call to make and all. But these principles are there to guide you, to ensure that your designs are not only beautiful, but they are functional. They help you to achieve the purpose you intend for them to achieve. So the difference between design principles and design trends, the difference is not exactly much, but it is significant in that design trends are what you see around you. I mean, talking about design, what you see in this design, you see the same thing in that design, you see the same thing in almost every design you see. Well, this is not a guarantee that you will find some of these things in every design you see, but in most design you see, you should find at least one of these elements, one of these trends in this design, in any design you find contemporarily. So why I decided not to say design trends for 2025 is because some of these trends have actually been in the picture since 2022, 23, 24, and now 25. They are still in the picture. Even beyond 2025, they will still be very relevant. So I'm not restricting this per year, but I will be discussing them because they are still things we see in designs even today. Design trends help you to know an active designer from someone who does design once in a while, right? When you're active in a space, you tend to know what's going on in your industry, what top guys are doing, what is selling, what is making waves, what is helping people get results more, and all. So all of these things are factors that are giving birth to these um, design trends that I have today. So the first one I will be talking about is the input of artificial intelligence in designs today. So it's a no-brainer that people say AI will take our jobs, AI will replace you and all. But for the smart designers, they have found ways where AI can actually make them better designers, and irreplaceable ones, right? So where does AI come in recent designs? Number one, from brainstorming concepts to generating color palettes. For example, I think the last session we had was about color psychology. We talked about how you can generate palettes manually, how you can do it with some systems by Canva, Adobe, and some other platforms. But there's a way you can create your prompt and give it to AI, tell it to generate the right color palette for a brand that does this, that does that. Describe the brand, describe the target audience, describe the goal you want to achieve with that brand. Describe your describe what you intend to, the look and feel, right? The look and feel, based on the mission, the vision of the business owner or the brand owner. Once you tell, once you input all of this into your prompts, you will be surprised that you will get the right color palette for that project with explanation and why it has selected this set of colors for your project. It will list out the colors, list out the names, list out the X codes for each color. Yours is just to copy the codes and then input it into your color picker tool and get to work. So that's AI for you. AI also comes into play in generative designs. People generate concepts. You can generate you know contexts, environments for your designs beyond what you're able to download online. With AI, you can remove backgrounds on some platforms like freepik.com. You can, before downloading your stock image, it has a busy background. You really don't have the luxury of time to remove these backgrounds by yourself. There is an AI system right on that platform that allows you with just a click to remove this background, and then you get to download a transparent image right from there. So AI is beyond what we see, what people use it for, how we use it to generate text, blog posts, and all. It is very, very much relevant to design and all. So one of the designs that AI has featured, yes, okay. So in a case like this is a random flyer, but the stock image that was used, you can tell that this is not a real image. It's a combination of machines and an image human face. This is the kind of image you want to use when you're talking about evolution, you're talking about machine learning, you're talking about the advent of AI, intelligence. You want to talk about things that combine technology and man. So there is really no model, there is really no way you can come about some of these pictures without generating them with the use of AI. So this is a perfect example of an image generated by AI for a flyer design, and you can see um, how bold the image came out to be with the use of AI. So the next one I will be talking about is bold typography. I've discussed typography in one of the previous sessions we had, where typography has to do with everything you do around the texts that feature in your design. Talking about typefaces, talking about even the colors you give these typefaces, talking about the nature of the typeface, if it's serif, if it's sans serif, and all. So it doesn't end there. There is a trend in designs where designers they go out of the box and they get very, very creative with typography. They are not shy to work with it. Yes, so an example is this design by Arsenal. So you can see how creative they were with the match day text. Match day. Ideally, you'd say, I want people to see my text, then I'll put it somewhere clear and all, but they hid it behind the main character. So to tell you the concept, the message is match day. So whenever you see this guy, whenever you see these colors and everything, we are talking about the next match, or today is the match day. And the only text that is expected to feature in the design is this match day, and they got so creative with it by placing it behind the guy and then using it in a bold way without restriction. So bold typography is just a trend in design that you can see around and ask questions: why has this person written this text in this way and not that way? That's because they have the creative freedom, and because it's also a trend in the industry. No one will question you, no one will ask you why. But of course, creativity matters. If you can use it perfectly, it will come out creative, and then it will come out functional. People will get to access your message, understand what you're trying to pass across, and still applaud you if you can do it very well. So bold typography is a trend in design, and one that will still be in the picture even for long beyond 2025. So the next one is minimalism. What is minimalism? In design, minimalism is a trend. It's also a principle. So this is one of the design principles and, and one of the trends that overlap. So minimalism calls for you achieving simplicity in everything you do, with everything you use also. In what we see you do, in what you do by yourself, in the message you pass across. This is the process of using less to communicate more, or using less to say more. So minimalism has to do with simplicity in every form of it. Um, so yeah, this is a perfect example of the minimal design. It says don't say much, don't show us too much, don't be loud with your design, use your white space perfectly, and the little you're saying must communicate your message as much as possible. So it means you necessarily don't have to have so much on the design before you pass your message across. People tend to be distracted when the design is even too complex. If it's too complex, too busy, there are colors, flashing at you, calling your attention everywhere, we get lost in the design, and before you know it, we are scrolling to the next one. But when it's minimal, when it's basic, this is just black and white, and then the texts, I think one, two, three, four, and shapes basically, and that's all. That's what minimalism entails. And a brand that I know that does minimalism so well is Simfix. So Simfix is a tech brand, and what they do basically is it's a tech brand that their solutions are based in the identity space, fingerprint, um, facial recognition and all. So you would expect designs like that to feature a lot of all these AI images and everything, but their style is a minimal style. I've known them for like 3 years now. It has been minimal and straight to the point, clean design. It is not busy. Everything is well arranged. So you come to the page, read the text, see the complementary image that tells you the same thing you're reading here, and that's all. That's the goal of the design. That is what they want you to see, and that's what you're seeing. Nothing complex, nothing unnecessary, nothing. It's just straight to the point. The stock image, the text, no noise around you, white space everywhere, and all. So that's a perfect example of a brand that uses minimalism. Something like this, also very simple and straight to the point. Yeah. So the next one I will be talking about is the use of gradient. Yes, gradient is when you combine um, 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 when you combine multiple colors. I was about to say two colors in a design, but you can actually have more than two colors when you blend multiple colors in a design to achieve a special effect. So the blending of these colors, the resultant effect or the resultant color you have when you blended more than one color is called a gradient, right? So if you look at this design properly, the main background is just pink and all, but when you look at um the one in the foreground, you can see pink in this region, then it's gliding towards purple, and then it's gliding towards a variant of blue, and then to a tint of blue here, sky blue, of some sort. Yeah, the same thing around here too, like four colors combined and all. So it's not just the designer trying to be creative or just trying to be playful because they have the freedom to do what they like once they understand the tools. No, some of these things are also, to if it's a design that is meant to catch your attention, gradients are perfect. When you see something like this, it flashes at you, you see what they want you to see, and then you get settled. What's coming out is maybe a design or a marketing flyer that's telling you they're about to unveil an 80% discount in the coming days and all. So this is a perfect design. showcased with the use of gradients. The gradient is perfect. It can be used on texts, on your heading, for example. Um, you're writing random. Let me do something quickly. Um, 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 so you're working on a random design, and you want your text to pop out. For example, a very small resolution. Okay. So a way to make our text pop out in a design is using gradients. So let's say this is the main text, this is our body text. This is our body text. Give it black. Okay, so body text of 3 lines. This is the main text, and or let's say a design where all of these have the same color, right? But you want the main text to stand out, the heading to stand out. So gradients can come into play. You can be very creative with it by overlaying this text with a gradient. You can either do that by I will still talk about some of these effects in a future lesson, and not this particular one. So I may just have to run through some of this quickly. So gradient overlay, and then I select my gradient. So something to just make the text stand out. I mean the heading stand out from the other text, to show that this is indeed a different part of the design. Then I want you to pay attention to this more than you should pay attention to every other part of the design. So gradient can be used in the background to catch attention. It can be used on a text also. It can be used in different areas of the design. The point is, gradient is an important trend in design. It's a trend that is also coming to stay, that has come to stay, and will still be in the future, even for long beyond this year. So yeah, the next one I will be talking about is the use of geometric shapes. The geometric shapes are random shapes that are combined creatively to achieve an artistic effect. Looking at it closely, there is really no meaning attached to the combination. It's not as if you're trying to achieve a specific result or something. You're just creating random patterns to achieve artistic effect, basically. So I did something like that for this brand. It's a fashion brand, and so ideally modern branding requires, or not necessarily a requirement, but something a nice to have deliverable is also creating patterns for the brand, unique patterns, such that when you see this pattern, you can connect it to a particular brand, and when someone else uses it, you can tell that this is the original owner of that pattern, even though the pattern is made up of random shapes combined together just for effect, just for their use in any. So again, this Synfix brand they also have something like that. Okay, so this is not before Synfix. This is a random use of geometric shapes also, just for effect, really just for effect. So this is supposed to be a landing page, home page. Make creativity your career. Ideally, you'd expect some stock image of a model, maybe a lady smiling, a guy, whatever. But to show creativity as their keyword, they have decided to show their own creativity using shapes. So when you see these shapes arranged creatively, then you can tell that these guys are truly creative people. So this is an instance of the design where geometric shapes have been used to communicate creativity. Another one is, okay, still the same brand. Yeah, the highlight of where the shape feature that even beyond that, these tiny dots used to create a form of pattern of a series or a sequence of dots and all is also the use of shapes. So yes, this is Simfix featuring their geometric shapes. So this is a unique pattern, a custom pattern created for this brand alone, and you can only see it on the branded shirts, on the notepads, I think on some stationery designs for the brand. It has no connection to what the brand does. It is not suggesting anything around technology, around automation, um, identity, and all of the and all those things. Yeah, it's just a random brand asset created for that brand. That's it. So it's also a trend in design. Things like this were not in existence some 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and all. It's a trend, and it's what you see in modern designs. When you see this, it's rhetorical. You can't just ask the designer, what are you trying to achieve by creating something like this? There's really no point, there's no answer, it's just something creative, it's just something nice to have, it's just a trend, and that's it. So the next um, design trend I will be talking about is the comeback of retro designs. Retro designs are like throwback designs, old designs. They're like the things you see when you pick up a 1950 newspaper. The kind of the brown feel it has, the kind of the kind of there's this form of brownness and dullness that comes with it. There's this form of use of there's really nothing fancy. You just see some old elements and all and all. So all of these things have been brought back into recent designs, and designers intentionally are picking typefaces that look like all these old typefaces. They are picking illustrations, stock images, intentionally using backgrounds that look like old designs. But when you see the content, you can tell that the content is really not some 1950 something design that in the 20th century and all of this. So retro designs are also trendy. They are also things that have been reintroduced into the design space, and designers are really picking up this, just to be creative. Just to be creative. People use it in flyer designs for some retro themed parties, for example. You are telling the guests that come, you are supposed to dress in some throwback way, remind us of what you would look like if you were in the 1980s and all of this. Flyers for events like that usually come with these retro themes. So some of the elements you will see in retro designs are, you see brown elements. Brown is the closest color we have um, to the olden days, to something old, something not very recent, right? Brown, black, cream, white, all of these are something, unique colors to it. And also there are some vector shapes, illustrations, and all of this. The design is really not exactly complex ones, because designers back then were not so sophisticated. So they didn't have the tools we have now and all. They just made do with everything they had there. So things were pretty much basic then. Therefore, retro designs in our time also tend to have this simple feel, old feel, but with recent content and all. So yeah, it's also a trend, and it's also what people are going big on recently. So the next one is surrealism or abstraction. So this is the use of elements that when you see these elements, they, imaginatively, they take you out of this world, and there's this theme of you being in the outer space, you currently not existing at that point in time when you see some of these things. Based on the elements and everything that it's just the use of elements, the use of shapes, the use of stock images, the use of fonts creatively to give you some sense of abstraction that this thing is not real. You are not likely to find anything real in this. Okay, yeah, something like this, for example. So this is not supposed to be a real human. There's there's the use of maybe Gaussian blur or something for his chest region. You cannot tell where his shoulder has ended, where his chest has started from. His skin color is something strange. The color of the lenses, even the background. So there is the intentional use of elements that suggest that things are out of this world, just to achieve some artistic feel, nothing else. Just to be creative, just to do something out of the box, and something different. That's basically it. It's called surrealism, or an element of abstraction. That's when you download backgrounds where you can't tell if this background is a wall, if you're in the jungle, if you're in the house. Just some mixture of floating shapes, random stuff and all. So designs like that have the elements, or the main elements that will feature or featuring in those designs are surreal elements. To achieve surrealism, to achieve abstraction, is that's basic and simple as that. So another trend you will see in design, this one has been around for a while and is one of the trends that will not end very soon, is inclusion and diversity in design. So I made reference um, to accessibility, yeah, at some point, where you design with the intent of meeting the needs of every possible user, everyone that falls into the gap that can be called the user of whatever you're designing, or the audience of whatever you're designing. So you are doing it in such a way that you have accommodated everyone. That's accessibility. So what is a trend? What is the trend called inclusion and diversity? So this is you having it in mind that whatever you do now is not necessarily, so there is the part of you designing for inclusion and diversity for people. There's the part of designing for everyone. That's accessibility. But this trend now features designing with everyone in mind. So they are different. You are designing for people, therefore everything you do will go that way. But this trend is concerned about the things you do, the things you use on your design to ensure that everyone is cared for in your design. So an example is if your brand is a global brand, for example. Okay, yeah, yes, perfect. So something like this is a concept showing you diversity in action. Just plain diversity and nothing else. Lush Hair is a braid brand, or is a brand that sells braids, human hairs and everything. So they are trying to portray their brand as one that sells to everyone. Looking at this lady's picture now, you can tell with the presence of the crotch that if you happen to be in this gap, you happen to be in this region of our audience, we care for you, we acknowledge you, and our product is for you. If you are a guy and you're interested in what we sell, you don't need to feel left out or something. We care for you. In fact, our product is for you. If you're black, we are for you. This is an albino. We are also for you. And if you are short, you are tall, light skinned, and dark. So this is a perfect depiction of diversity in marketing, in design, and all. So what caught my attention for this particular brand is seeing their billboard. I saw they did specific billboards for people with full hairs on their hair, people who have full hairs, and And then I saw another one later in a different location of someone who has some scanty hair or something like that. Ideally, you should be surprised if you're selling hair products. Why is your model someone who doesn't have enough of it on their hair, right? So they are to tell you that either if you're in this gap, we care for you. If you are in this circle, we care for you. If you are in this circle, we care for you also. So this is not only for marketers to understand, this is also something that designers have picked up and they feature in their work nowadays. Diversity, inclusion. If your brand is a global brand, for example, if the brand you're designing for is a global brand, then you have no business sticking to a particular set of models for your design. If it's a global brand touching Europe, touching Asia, touching Africa, and all, and you're sticking to black models alone, naturally you are segregating the white audience from the market. And well, you're not doing this audibly, but the message is communicating it. This brand prioritizes black customers than white customers. And it's also the same thing if your models are playing white models and you're not focusing on the Asian market, on the European markets and everything. This will tell on the overall marketing performance of the brand. And of course, this this is just by the simple act of the designer not understanding the trend or not just paying attention to some of these tiny things. So we see things like this also feature in fintech apps, for example. Once you're targeting everyone, you can the intro of some of these apps will feature some maybe a vector image of a lady. The next screen may feature the vector image of a guy. The next one may feature the vector image of an aged person and something like that. The next one, someone on a wheelchair. That will tell you we have everyone in mind, and in fact, everyone is a target audience. Everyone is a customer. So, an important trend in design is inclusion and diversity. So the next one I will be talking about is I won't call it a direct opposite of surrealism or abstraction, but it's just a way of bringing design concepts to life using 3D elements and using mockups. It's just a way to bring all of this to life, right? So rather than designing something and you know that this design will be printed and be used in its hard copy format, and then giving it out to the clients for review or just for them to have a feel of it by just sending a flat image. So this again will still make it abstract in their mind. You are leaving them to try and picture what it would look like once they print it. Meanwhile, you could just place this in a mock-up and life will be easier that way. So this ideally is not supposed to be a trend because mock-ups have been around for so long, and mock-ups are not just random when it's time for you to display what you've done and all. Mock-ups actually feature in flyer designs, they feature in different things and beyond just displaying what this design would look like, right? So there's the use of 3D elements to bring designs to life, to bring design elements to life rather than flat items on your design and all. So this is just a basic business card mock-up that's to show the brand owner what it would look like, the front page, the back page, and what it would look like if they are holding it in this angle, holding it in that angle, and everything. So yeah, mock-up and the use of 3D elements is not the direct opposite of abstraction or surrealism, but it's just something that brings design elements, design concepts, and messaging to life. So once your audience have to deal with mock-ups in your designs, then they have some level of connection. They can relate. Yeah, they can relate with some of your works better than when it's just a flat design nothing popping out of it and all. So that's what the use of mockup does for you, and the use of 3D. So if you go online and you search design trends, I assure you that you will find more than this. You can get to certain pages where they will list 5, some will list 7, some can list 10. Of course, trends are not something defined by anyone, so you will likely find more than all of this. But these are some that, I mean, some of the most popular trends that you will find when you look around in designs randomly. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. In the next design session, I will be talking about some tools. I will be talking about the pen tool. I will be talking about some effects. So it will be more practical than this. So this one is just supposed to explain or describe trends. It's not supposed to be a very practical session. So the next one will be the usage of some of these trends in design, how to create them by yourself, how to do some of these basic things using some tools that we have not touched so far. So with that, I will be ending uh, this session now. Thank you very much.